This video file is recorded in Sabancı University during the recitations for the CS201 Introduction to Computing course, as it was given in the fall 2016 semester.
Okay, good morning. This is the 6th week of the recitation of CS201 Introduction to Computing. Since you don't have any questions, then we can start with some codes for today. Start a new project. I hope you have downloaded files for today, the zip file. If not, please do so. And zip it, unzip it actually, extract it to your desktop or whatever. Today we are going to cover very important topics in programming. Namely, it will be loops, for and while. Also very important stuff. You will be dealing with, you cannot program without loop and loops without like for and while. We will cover both of them today. And also we will see a class. You know what a class is already. We will see a class of strings. You have used maybe some features, so you have printed strings, you have inputted some data into a string variable, but we will see something more about strings. Also, if I forget, please remind me to give you a clue about what should you do with your homeworks next week. You know the deadline for the 4th homework. If it's not assigned, probably it will be assigned on Friday, but I'm going to tell you what it is about. I think you are supposed to, when I'm talking, just record me, otherwise I can record the projector. Okay, let's start with the string class. You remember from last week we had the class of complex numbers with the real and imaginary variable. We had some functions, display, add, constructors, and so on. You had the count class. You had the robot class. This week we'll have another class which is called the string class. We have used strings. We have seen strings. But now we are going to see some stuff in details. The class of strings, the string class is very, very wide class. So we're not going to cover everything, maybe 1% only. But those should be sufficient for you for the time being. We have seen operators with integer numbers, with float numbers. We are going to see now some operators with string. Okay, what do we have here? Some of the most important functions are add, and you have an integer here. Then we have another function. Those, by the way, all of those are public. We have substring, sub, str. It takes an integer as a parameter. Then we have find. We have two find functions with name find. We will see what they are about. What else? Length. The length is also a function with no parameters. So let's see what those functions are basically doing. Let's say that I have a string. Its name is, let's say, name. And I have something like this. Hi, comma, empty space. I am Artrim. Okay. We have an empty space here, an empty space here. I'm going to denote them like this. I'm going to mark them. So let's see. This string is made of how many characters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 characters. That's why if I say something like this, name, point length, or if I'm trying to print this guy, that I will have printed 15. Why? Because we have 15 characters here. The length of the string is 15. So you see, those are member functions of the class string. All of the string variables of type string have those inside, okay? Now, let's see something else. If I say name, point, so we have seen this guy. No, the length. Now let's see what at is about. If I say name, point at, remember those things because we're going to do a lot of examples with those 4 functions, and your homework will be about this, okay, and loops, of course. So try to understand them. If you don't understand something, if something is unclear, please ask. So name at, before explaining this function, let me tell you that we have 15 characters here, but how are they numbered? Their ID inside the name. H, the first character, is the 0th index. We don't start from 1, so this is not 1, 2, 3, so this is 0. We start from 0. I is 1. This comma here is 2. This empty space here is 3, and so on. Can you tell me this guy here, the letter M? What's the index of it? It's 14. Why? You might say, okay, we have 15 characters, but we started from 0, so this is 14. Okay? If we started from 1, it would have been 15. You should get used with these zeros because we will see it very often in programming, almost always. When you start counting, you start from 0. So this is the 0th character of the string name, the first, the second, and so on. Now if I say name at 0, if I'm trying to print this guy, so let's say I'm printing those, C out, I'll see what as an output. I'll see H. So this is the output, only H. If I say I'm trying to print name at 3, now let's say at 2, here I'm printing what? Come on. No, come on. This is H is 0. I is 1. The comma is 2. So I'm printing 2. Okay? This is it. If I'm trying to print the last name, the last character, I should say name at 14. And this will be M.
Why did you send it to
Oh no, it's the comma, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. This is comma. So, second character is comma. What if I'm printing something like this? Name, at, and then I'm saying again, pay attention please. Name, point, length, minus 2. What I'm going to print now? Any suggestions? High only? I. Why do you think so? You're right, by the way. But why?
It starts from the last part.
Why starts from the last? Okay.
I don't know.
Did you guess it or you know? You guessed it. Okay. Let me tell you why. Name point length. What's the value of name point length? It's 15. We saw it. 15 minus 2 is 13. Okay. So name at 13 means that if this is at 14, if this is the 14th character, this is going to be the 13th. That's why I'm printing I. Okay. So we saw at. Now let's see substring. Substring actually takes two, not one, it takes two parameters. Both of them are integer. Substring basically returns a portion of this string. For instance, if I say name point substring substr 0 and 2 this is what happens. This is the from where we start, the beginning. Index 2 is how many characters do we take from that particular string. So I'm starting from the 0th character, which is h, and I'm taking 2, including h. So 1, 2. That's why the output will be high. Okay? I'm starting from 0, and I'm taking 2 characters. H is 1 character, I is the 2nd character. That's why I'm printing high. Okay? That should, before coming to the recitations, it would be good if you've attended the lectures. It's okay. It should be sufficient. If not, for some reason, so we expect from you to attend them, by the way, you can, you should just go through the slides, okay? And try to understand the general point of the slides, of the lectures. Okay, now help me.
Can I ask something?
Yeah, of course.
Isn't 0 and 2 supposed to be h and comma instead of 5?
No, because 0 is the starting index, and this 2 is how many characters we take starting from the first index. Okay, so find works like this. Find. We have start index, which is integer, and the second parameter is number of chars that we take. Okay, so we start from the 0th character and we take 2. Now tell me what. Substring. Oh. Yeah, this is substring. Oh yeah, you're right. You're talking about substring. You're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is substring. Again, if I give something like this, 2 and 5, what will be the output here? Again, 2 is the starting index, 5 is number of characters taken starting from that particular index. So what will be the output? Okay, which is the second character? Comma.
Space and space.
How many characters do we take?
5.
5. So 1 is comma, 2 is the space. This is I am. So I'm printing I. Space again, and A. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters. Okay? 5 chars. Should we go with another example? Okay. This is it. We understood substring. Let's see what find is about. Sometimes we want to find a particular occurrence of a pattern of a string or substring or whatever. For instance, I might have a long string and I want to find whether the word M is appearing somewhere. It's part of that string. Okay? So I'm going to write something like this. Name, point, find, and I want to find M. So what do you think it should return? It returns something. This substring also returns something. It returns a string. Add returns a character. Length returns the length. It's an integer number. Okay, this should be clear. Okay, because substring, this high, I, empty space, I, those are all strings. Okay, that's why I'm going to write them like this, in quotation marks. What do you think this find should return? You can guess it. So we are trying to find M, whether this M occurs somewhere in this string. And it occurs, yeah. So what do you think? What should it return?
The starting.
Exactly.
And the end.
You should have only the starting index, and you know that the end will be until the end. And only 2 more.
But isn't there like 2 possibilities? either the starting index and the ending index.
Yeah, but
the
yeah.
starting index and the length.
Excuse me?
And the length.
I mean, the length is obvious because since we have here 2 characters, the length will be 2. Okay, so we are interested only whether this particular pattern occurs and where it does occur. If we have only the first index, it's sufficient for us. Okay. If we want to find the length of m, then we can use even something like this, and we can define another string and say that string name2 is equal to m, and we can take the length of m. Okay. But if we find the first index where this pattern starts, it should be enough. So if this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, it should return 6. Because n starts at the 6th character from 0, from the beginning. Start numbering, counting from 0. Okay? What if I say something like this? Name, find, I. Only I. What I'm going to print here? It may be 1 character. Do we have I here? Yes. We have 2 I's. But pay attention that C++ is case sensitive. So this I and this I are not the same. They are totally different characters. Okay? Yeah, it might be I for us, but for the computer, for the compiler, it's not like that. So, what do you think? What is this going to return?
The first one.
The first one. And the first one is which index? It's 1. That's why we are going to have printed 1. Now, if we now find, let's say we want to print z, or we want to find something like this. Name, find, hello. So, what do you think is going to happen? Do we have any substring being hello here? No. So what do you think is going to happen? I mean, you can give guesses, because tomorrow you can become a programmer. You can write your own language if you're from the CS department, and you can think out, well, C++ is doing this way, but I'm going to do it another way.
Display an error.
No. Yeah, I mean, it's logical, what you said, but it's not the case. I understand why you're saying that. What would you have said? 0, but what if I return 0, that it might be index 0? I might return something negative, for instance, because we start from 0. Can a character be smaller than 0? No. Okay, so if I return something negative, it doesn't make sense, basically. So this particular string here, pattern, doesn't occur in this string, okay? But what happens is something like this. Remember this. There's a variable called npos, no position, and this is going to be returned. That means that the particular pattern cannot be found in the string we are looking for, okay? In the string we are talking about. And it will return no position. Usually, it's a very big number. Let's say if we are dealing with unsigned integers, it will be 2 to the power of 32. So if you know that the length of your string is, let's say, 100, 200, 500, 1 million, but if you are trying to find a pattern, and you receive something like 4 billions or 40 billions, what was the name? What was the value? I don't remember exactly. Then you should know that that particular pattern does not exist. But usually, you express it with this one, n position. It will be clear in a while. We're going to have a lot of examples today with strings. Okay. Now, let's start with an example. I hope this is clear. Any questions about this one? I mean, try to understand those functions, because they are very important. So find returns an integer giving the index of the start of that particular pattern. Okay. Did you understood it really? I mean, if you understood it, please raise your hand. Okay. If not, ask me whatever you want. Now there was an example that we didn't cover last week, and it's better than we didn't cover. I didn't do it intentionally, since we are going to do it today. So please download your files and just copy paste all of the content. Copy paste it to your solution folder. Okay. Now let's start with the file, with the example. It's going to be input check. If you cannot find it in your folder for today, you can definitively find it from last week. Okay, so take it from last week. Input check.cpp. What are we trying to do here? Let me show it to you. This is our program. I'm adjusting the font. I'm going to enter 2 words, and I'm going to check whether the last letter of the first word is equal to the first letter of the second word. So I'm giving Artrim, let's say. This is my first word. Now it's asking for my second word. Let's say it's Mark, this is my second word. And you see, is this M equal with this M or not? This is M. The last letter of Artrim is M. And the first letter of Mark is M. So are they the same? Let's see. Second word does not start with the last letter of first word. We can change maybe the code here. Does not start. Oh, okay. I mean, why it wasn't the same? Because capital M, let me run it again from here. Capital M, lowercase m, and uppercase and lowercase are not the same. Okay? If I write something like this, Artrim, and I write Mark, you see I have lowercase m and I have lowercase m here. So they are the same. And this is the last letter of the first word. This is the first letter of the second word. That's why I'm getting this message. Second word starts with the last letter of first word. Otherwise, it doesn't start as we saw it previously. So I'm giving something that makes no sense. Again, something that makes no sense. So this is D, this is F. It does not start with the same letter. Now, our job is the following. This is our main program. We define 2 strings, word 1 and word 2. We should read them as we saw it, and we should check whether the first letter of the second word starts with the last letter of the first word. If it starts, then we are printing this one. Otherwise, we are printing this one here. But we have here a logical no, meaning if the check is not successful, then we are going to have this stuff here. Basically, this guy here, this negation here, is same as writing like this. If the check is false, then second word does not start with the last letter of the first word. Otherwise, it starts. Why did we put this negation here? It's important because we want to learn you. I mean, if the second word starts, the first letter of the second word starts with the last letter of the first word, this is going to be true. This negation here makes all of this stuff here false. That's why I'm printing second word does not start with the last letter of blah, blah, blah. If this is false here, this negation is going to make it true. Okay? So if this is true, this is going to be written. Otherwise, this else is going to be written. Did you understand it? Okay. Now our job is the following, to write this check function. It takes 2 words, and let's see how it's going to be written. Can you write it or not? What do you think I should put here? So we have here a Boolean variable called result. This will be true or false. It's false if they are not the same letters. It's true if they are the same. We are taking the length of the first word, and now we should check. And if we should write, this is the most important part of this program, we should write this if clause that if the last letter of the first word is the same with the first letter of the second word, then the result is true and we are returning the result. Otherwise, if they are false, this block is not going to be executed and we are returning the result, which was from start false. So only if they are equal, we change it to true. Can you do it? Yeah, what are we going to use?
You can say word 1 dot
Yes,
at length minus 1
exactly.
equals to word 2 at 0.
Exactly. Let's do it. So if we have the length, we already have the length of word 1. So if word 1 point at of then word minus 1, you know why minus 1 already, is equal, but we have to equal because we're asking, to word 2 point at 0. This is the first index. If this is true, then the result is going to be true. Okay, and we are returning true. If this is not true, this block is not going to be executed and we return the result, which was initialized to false in the beginning. Okay, let's run the program and see the output. Okay. So first word, Artrim. Second word, M and whatever. You see that this first letter is the last letter and the first letter of the corresponding words are the same. So, oof. C in ignore and C in get. So, M and whatever. Second word starts with the last letter of first word. This is it. Okay, there's another way of doing this stuff. This is it works. There's another way of doing this stuff. How can we do it? At works. Can you see one of those functions which can be useful in our case here? Substring, exactly. So, let's write it with substring. If word 1 substring of what? We are starting from which index? So we want to take the last letter. In order to take the last letter, we are starting from which index? It's line word minus 1, okay? And how many letters we take from that? Only 1. So it's going to be what? The first parameter is len word minus 1, because we start from the last character. Of course, we cannot take more than 1. We're taking only 1. And that's the last letter. If this guy is equal to word 2 point substring of what? We are starting from the 0th index and we're taking how many characters? Only 1. If those two guys are equal, then the result is true. Otherwise, it's going to be false. Let's run the program. So we have Artrim and M whatever. Second word starts with the last letter of first word. Otherwise, if we have Artrim here and whatever, it does not start with the last letter of first word. Okay, so now you have a clue how at and substring work. Let's go with something which is important. Those are the loops. I'm going to remove this guy and add a new source file. I'm going to write the code from scratch. It It will be very small one.
Should we write this?
No, I mean you should understand it only. Okay. Let's say that my job is the following: to print all the numbers from 1 to 10. So how we are going to do that? You might do something like this. See out, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Yeah, this might work, but what if I say print all the numbers from 1 to 1 million? Can we do it? Yeah, you can do it, but probably not a sane person will do it. That's why we have something which is called a loop, and it helps in those cases. Okay, the first loop we are going to see is the while loop. I'm going to write the syntax here. I can erase it, I hope you understood it. Please don't forget how those functions work. You'll need it a lot till the end of the semester. Have you heard about while before? The while loop.
Yeah.
So?
Well, the condition is true, it keeps executing.
Exactly. So this is the syntax of the while loop, and the way it works is what you said. We have something like this, while. We have here condition, a statement. And while this condition is true, this while is being executed again and again and again. Everything is being executed inside those two blocks. When the condition is false, we continue immediately after the brackets. Okay? This condition is pretty much, the condition here are the same as the conditions you have seen in if. Okay? So it makes sense. While this is true, do it. So how we would do it in our case here? Well, let's say we want to print numbers from 1 to any number n that is taken as an input. Give an n to print numbers from 1 to n. Now here I'm defining an integer, which is number, and I'm reading it. This is number. Okay? I'm reading this guy. Now I'm defining another integer, which is called counter, and counter is equal to 0. This is happening while this counter is smaller than the number, then I'm printing the number, then I'm printing the counter. Now let's make it from 1. And let's say smaller or equal to. I'm printing the counter and increasing it. You know what is this stuff counter plus plus doing? It's same as saying counter is equal to counter plus 1. This is the same. This is the short way of writing this stuff here. We can put a red dot here, so let's see how it's working. Okay. Why don't we see that? Oh, we should read the number. Given number, let's say I want to print from 1 to 10. Okay. So you see that counter is 10 because I gave 10. Number is 10 and the counter is 1 because we started from here. Now we are about to print the counter. So debug, step over. I just printed it. I have it here. I printed 1. Now see that the counter is going to be increased to 2. So debug, continue, or step over, it's the same. Now when the counter is 2. You see it's in red color because it means that the value of counter changed from the previous time. When we are finished with counter plus plus, it was 1 and it became 2. We are going and checking this loop again, this condition here. And we are asking whether counter is smaller or equal to the number. Well, is 2 smaller than 10? Yes, this is true. So we are going inside. We are printing the counter again, which is now 2. Okay. 1, 2, 3. And counter is increased to 4. Again, it's done 5. I mean, let's go with step over. Debug. Step over. It's 5. Now we are about to increase the number of counter by 1. It's now 6. We are going now to check this loop again. Debug. Step over. Is this true or not? Yes, this is true. That's why we go inside. Debug. Step over. We are printing the counter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on until the end. Okay, is this clear? This is how we do it. And in the end, we have printed those guys. But we should have put it. We should have put here an end line. However, it doesn't matter. Now let me write another example, which is important. We want to find. So we saw how we are printing numbers. If you want to see how I'm printing numbers from 1 to 1 million, which is kind of interesting, or let's say 10,000, I'm just giving 10,000 as an input, and this is the output. Okay, you cannot do it with ifs or by hand manually. Now this is very important. I want to find the sum of numbers from 1 to a given number n. That's why I'm writing this stuff. Give a number to find the sum from 1 to n. Okay? How am I going to do that? Yeah, we are using the counter, but we will put our value here in sum. Initially, we have not started to count the numbers we have not started to find the sum of those numbers. So initially the sum is 0. This is very important because you have to initialize it. We have not counted anything, the sum is 0. Now we go inside, we don't want to print it. We just say that the old sum, the new sum is equal to the old sum plus the counter. You see the counter initially is 1. Then the old sum is 0 plus 0, 0 plus 1. The new sum is going to be 1. The counter is going to be increased. We go here. Is 2 smaller than, let's say, 10? Yes. We add some. We increment the counter by 1. Again, this is repeated. Is this clear? But what I want to emphasize here is this guy here. Always, when you want to find the summation, the initial value of it is 0. Do you have to go through this code or not? Step by step? No? Just let me run it. Okay, from 1 to 10. I didn't print it, that's why. I'm going to print it here. See out the sum from 1 to number is, and I'm printing it. Okay. So from 1, let's say, to 5. From 1 to 5 is 15. Yeah, 1 and 2 is 3, 2 and 3 is 5, 5 and 4 is 9. Am I correct? Is this working? So let's say 1 and 2. Maybe there's a syntax error here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 3, 6, 10, 15. Okay. It's working. Do we have to go step by step to see how it's working or not? Yes or no? No? Ilhan, no? What about you, guy? No, and you know. What about you? Okay. Now let's find the product from 1 to 10. What is going to be the difference here? So I found the sum, and I want to find the product, meaning 1 multiplied by 2, by 3, by and so on. What I'm going to change here? This is also important. Okay, we start with product here.
Can you put like the math library into the factorial?
Yeah, basically this is the factorial. We'll see, but I want just to make you familiar with the while loop. That's why I'm doing it. Okay, because basically the factorial function from the math library is doing the same thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I should find the product of the numbers from 1 to n. Exactly. We should start from 1. Because 1 is a neutral number with respect to multiplication. Okay? That's why. So, this is very important to know. Product multiplied by counter. And here we have, here again, product is equal to product multiplied by counter. You can write it this way in C++. Product also. This is maybe the more efficient way. Multiplication equal counter. It's the same basically. Both of them are doing the same thing. And here, of course, I print the product. From 1, let's say from 1 to 10, this is the result. Again, I want to emphasize, when you want to find the summation, the initial value is 0, and when you want to find the product, the initial value is 1, for the reasons we just saw. Now let's go with an example. Which one is that? Digits.cpp. And we will have a break of 3 or 4 minutes, because we started a bit late. So existing item, digits.cpp. Do you see it here? Yes, here it is. Okay, our job here is the following. We are giving a number as an input, and we want to find out how many digits does it have. For instance, let me show you the demonstration of it. This is what we want to do. Please enter a number. And if I'm entering 1256, how many digits do we have? 4. It has 4 digits. If I give another number, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how many digits do we have here? 5 digits.
Can you enter a word?
It doesn't work with words. I mean, we don't want to check this stuff here, okay? Let's assume that the input is always an integer. How many integers do we have here now? Digits now? 1 only. Okay. How are we going to do that? Can you tell me? I mean, give me an algorithm, a way to do it.
You enter the number as a string and do the string length function.
Yeah. I mean, what you can do is the following. Here, as you can see, we are expecting an integer input. You can convert this integer to string and then find the length. This is very nice. But we don't want to do it that way for the time being, because do you know how to convert a string to integer and vice versa?
You do.
Okay. I'll show it in a while to you. But we want to do it in a mathematical way. How are you going to do it? Let's suppose that the string library class doesn't exist. How are you going to do that?
You can check if it is divisible by 10, then it's 2 digit.
Exactly. So what your friend is saying is the following. Let's say that we have a number and it's 345. I'm showing to you the algorithm here. And here we are keeping the number of digits. Initially it's 0. What I'm doing is the following. I'm going to divide this number. So this is our input here. This is the number. I'm going to divide this with 10 if it's divisible. I'm going to divide it again and again and again up until I can divide it. I don't stop and I cannot. If I can divide it by 10 once, I'm going to increase the number of digits. So I start initially 345. Can I divide it by 10? Yes. That's why I'm increasing the number of digits and I'm erasing this stuff. Can I divide it by 10 again? Yes. I'm increasing the number of digits, erasing this stuff. Can I divide it by 10 again? No. I'm just adding 1 in the end and that's it. So we have 3 here. That's it. Now, you saw that initially we had 345 here. Okay? And we checked whether this is divisible by 10. How did we do that? How can we check whether it's divisible by 10? Using what? Modulo operator. When you divide this guy, modulo?
No, just divide and check it.
Divide it if it's what? Yeah.
Just check if the result is not 0.
Exactly. Why we are saying that?
Because you want at least 1.
Exactly. If I divide 9 by 10, what's the result here? Both are integers. It's 0. If I divide 8 by 10 or 7 by 10, everything is going to be 0. But if I divide 37 by 10, the result is what? 3. Can you do it? You have 2 minutes to do it. Just try it. I mean, yeah, the logic is this one. Of course, we are going to do it again and again and again. If when we divide this number with 10, we don't get a 0, then I'm increasing the number of digits. In the end, we will have only 1 digit, so I'm increasing it again, and I'm returning the number of digits. So obviously, there is a while loop. And that while loop is going to be executed. So if this number, what we have from this number, what is left from this number, is divided by 10, when it's divided by 10, the result is not 0, then I'm going to increase the number of digits and take 1 digit. How I'm taking 1 digit? In this manner. So, try to write it. I'm going to take also attendance right now. You have 1 minute to write it. Of course, I'm taking the activities. Yeah. You can take it. You'll get the full points of activity if someone of you can do this stuff.